Select audio player.
Select audio player. Push the talk switch and say the audio player.
iPhone.
Cancelled.
Nice. Select audio player.
Pardon? Main menu. Available commands are dial by name, dial by number, redial, callback, phone book, cancelled. Bluetooth audio setup. Push the talk switch and say pair audio player. Select audio.
Select audio player.
Select audio player. Push the talk switch and say the audio player.
iPhone.
BlackBerry.
Push the talk switch and say confirm. Otherwise, say go back.
Go back.
Go back. Push the talk switch and say the audio player name or say list audio players.
iPhone.
Repeat. Go back. Push the talk switch and say the audio player name or say list audio play.
List audio players.
List audio players. To select a name, push the talk switch during the name playback.
Phil's iPhone. Phil's iPhone.
Push the talk switch and say confirm. Other
Confirm. Alexa!
iPhone.
selected. Returning to Bluetooth audio setup.
Alexa! Yeah, so today's plan, gonna be going over to the cabin real quick to go see what the logging progress is looking like. Luckily, the mill opened back up and is accepting the popple logs now, so that's really good news for us. We're not gonna get butt when it comes to pulp prices, so that's cool. Gonna be going into the cabin, setting a little fire, setting the cabin on fire. No, I'm gonna be setting a fire in the wood stove, trying to get the cabin toasted up, nice and toasty, for when I come back from Whitefield, because it's 5 degrees out today and we're expecting 2 feet of snow tonight. I guess it's that like winter storm or whatever everyone's flipped out about. I don't think it's anything unusual for us up here, but I know in like Tennessee, it's pretty crazy, pretty unusual for them. Texas is pretty unusual. I'm joking, just for clarity's sake. I don't actually plan to burn down my cabin at all. I am very invested in fixing it up, which is why I'm going to Whitefield, Maine after this to go bother the Amish people. I'm going to be bugging Amish people all day to see if I can find someone who is willing to do carpentry work for me on my cabin, to build an addition and to help me to reskin it with some zip R sheathing. So we'll see how that all goes. Obviously the Amish, you can't just pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, what's up, dude? If you do that, it's only going to be like their Shabbos goy that picks up the phone. They always have like a non-Amish dude that does all the technology stuff for them, that picks up the phone, that texts people, that arranges stuff. And the Shabbos goys aren't always super helpful, so best to go straight to the source and consult the rabbis, you know what I mean? We're pulling up on the cabin here in a second, so. It's pretty cold out here. I have, I think 5 layers on, around that. I only smoke because I want to look cool on camera. You know, I don't actually like cigarettes to make me feel yucky. Just gotta look like a cool guy on camera. That's the whole point. Whoa, 420, blaze it. My cigarette's frozen. Something I've been thinking about lately is that I imagine a lot of people see this content. Not that a lot of people are watching it, but for the few of you, I appreciate it. Shout out Isaac, what's up, dog? Much love. A lot of people see this content and their mind goes, lifestyle. Oh, that guy Phil, he makes lifestyle content. He makes lifestyle content. What is a lifestyle? You think this is like a style? You think that I'm out here because it's like cool? Because I was like, man, that looks like a cool style of living your life, man. That sounds great. No. This is not a style. It's not a fad or anything like that. I was about to say another F word. I gotta be careful on YouTube with that one. This is the logical conclusion to my philosophy, as are all other lifestyles. A lifestyle is a philosophy put into practice. Into praxis. I just like that word, praxis. I don't know. It sounds smart, so I'm gonna say it. Man, my boogers are frozen. Hope you can see that on camera. Get a really good look up my nose. My son would laugh at that. Yeah, I think a lot of people, they don't realize it, but their life, you know, they're like humdrum life. A lot of people don't think about philosophy, and they don't really seek to alter their life in a way that is going to befit what they actually believe. A lot of people are much more comfortable going along with what is expected of them, what is normal, what will not be questioned, what's easy. And the point of me saying this is not to dunk on those people. Like, look at me, I'm like David Goggles. I'm like David Goggins out here in the wilderness. I'm some big man. No, I don't see it that way. I just see it as you know, you can either choose to have agency in your life and sort of like be the captain of your own ship, or you cannot, and someone else will be the captain of your ship. And if that's something that you're okay with, then fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The captain needs his crew, you know. There's equal importance put on the captain as there is on the crew, as there is on the ship, you know. All those things are symbiotic with each other. It doesn't make you better or worse, but I would encourage those of you who maybe have not thought of this life or any life outside the ordinary as being possible, I would encourage you to really rethink that. If you have dreams that keep you up at night, if you have unfulfilled desires, and not like flippant desires like I want to go around with my wife or my husband, that's gay. If there's something that you think you could benefit the world or benefit your family or benefit yourself in a way that's virtuous and good, you have an obligation to make that happen for yourself, or at least attempt to make that happen for yourself, because living with regrets, and especially dying with regrets, is probably one of the worst things I think a person can do. And yes, it is going to be an uphill battle for you, as it has been for me. It's been an uphill battle for me. My whole family thinks I'm crazy. Even my wife sometimes thinks I'm crazy. And, you know, there were moments where we had fights about it. Oh, I don't want to live this way. Why can't we just live in the suburbs? Why can't we just live in the city? I get it. You know, I do. I sympathize with it. But there's more to life than that. And eventually she came around. Eventually, she now sees it the way I see it. And it's because I gaslit her and I manipulated her and blah, 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 blah. You know, jokes aside. The same thing with, you know, with your spouses, right? If you have a spouse who is not on board with the life you want to live, then you also have an obligation to try to help them to see it the way you see it. And if you guys just have unreconcilable differences, be patient and maybe they'll come around. It takes longer than you expect, always. But a wife is supposed to do that. A wife is supposed to be a buffer against your bad decisions, but also supposed to support you if you decide this is the route we're going to take. This is talking to the dudes out there, right? You're the husband, you're the man. If you're not the captain of the ship, guess who is? She is. And not to get too trad and based and red-pilled on you, but that's not good. The biblical order of things does not set women in leadership. I love women. I think they're ontologically equal to men. I think they're beautiful. I think they're great. I think they're strong, all that stuff, right? I'm not some misogynist, evil guy that people would paint me out to be. But there is a role for men and for women. And to deny that would be to deny biology, right? So if you don't take your position of leadership, someone else will step in. If you're upset with how things are going, as you should be, if you're upset with the fact that things are as messed up and as adjacent to the Weimar Republic as they are, you have an obligation to step into a leadership role as someone who knows the difference between right and wrong. Because guess who's going to take that position if you don't? Someone who doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. Someone who is messed up in the head. Someone who wants to hurt people. So buck up, nut up, remember that you have a pair of balls that God gave you, and go and deal with it. And I'm not going to make a prescription as to like what that looks like for every person, but it depends on what your opportunities are, of course, right? I'm not Fed posting here. I'm not advising that someone goes and does something heinous and evil. You have to be well thought out and you have to apply a Christian ethic to what you do. But it's okay to get in trouble. It's okay to make people mad. It's okay to have everyone be against you. Because guess who else everyone was against at the time? With very few exceptions. Jesus Christ. The King of Kings, the ruler of the universe, was universally hated. And if you want to be a Christian, you've got to attempt to be comfortable in those shoes. And it's not easy. There's people out there that hate me. I have enemies, right? But I'm okay with that. They view themselves as my enemy. I don't view them as mine. I love them. I want the best for them. But sometimes the best way to do that is to enforce a boundary. Sometimes the best way to do that is to piss people off. I'm not advising you deliberately go out there and troll people and piss people off for pissing off people's sake. But what I am saying is that doing the right thing often upsets people. Even the people that you think should be on your side. Jesus Christ came not to bring peace, but bring a sword. You got to think about that. You got to think about what that means. It doesn't mean be inoffensive all your life. It doesn't mean being a milquetoast. Stop being a milquetoast. I'm not a perfect example, right? I have a cigarette here. This is not good from a Christian ethic. So going back to what I was saying, you're smart, use your own mind, distill whatever is true from what I'm saying and throw away the bullshit, right? Because I'm sure I'm wrong about something, right? And feel free to, give me some shit in the comments if you think I'm wrong or whatever. I'm genuinely very curious to hear what people have to say about this particular topic. To distill it down to its most basic point, to be loved or to be hated, even by your own family, your own wife, your own husband, your own kids, your own church group, for example, it's immaterial. It makes no statement about whether you're right or you're wrong about a particular issue. Logic and following the phronema of the church, the mind of the church, not meaning like the hive mind of the people at the church, meaning the historical teachings of the church fathers and of the saints, that's what's important. Logic is what helps us to discern between right and wrong, truth and fiction. And without that, if you are willing to subvert your critical thinking ability to the hive mind, to the group, you are relinquishing, again, agency. The moment you surrender agency, you are going to be dragged down by the lowest common denominator wherever you are. Walk your own walk. Hold fast to what is good, test all things, read scripture, read the saints, read especially the church fathers, and apply that to life. Don't think, oh, that was how it was back then. We're not going to do it that way now because the context is different and morality evolves. That's all horseshit. That is all for the birds, okay? This whole morality evolving, pre-modern context don't apply to modern context stuff. That's crap. That's all nonsense. That is all Enlightenment philosophy that's transposed onto Christianity. That is not something that comes from within the church. Fight me on that. Debate me on that. I don't care. But the reason why Nick Fuentes and people like that are so influential right now is because he's one of the few people who is out here saying that it's okay not to be a milquetoast and it's okay to be offensive as a Christian, because guess who you're going to have to offend? You're going to have to offend the enemies of God. Just by being a Christian, you will naturally offend the enemies of God. The love of God and the lake of fire are the same thing. Not in some Gnostic way, but in the sense that the enemies of God experience the love of God as the lake of fire. The love of God burns them. It makes them feel terrible. It makes them upset. It offends them. Whereas the people who are friends of God, maybe not friends of God is the best word, but people who are accepting of God, they experience that as love. And if we take the whole concept that there are energies of God, and that's how we experience God, and that logic and truth and love are energies of God, and if the truth offends someone, then that therefore means that that person is experiencing love and truth as pain. That's a prefiguring of their experience of the love of God as the lake of fire. If the truth offends someone, so long as the truth is not being said in a way deliberately to offend someone, but if the truth is offending someone, it is a statement about their soul and their receptivity towards God. Like I said, feel free to disagree with me, whatever. One more thing I wanted to mention on that topic was that St. John Chrysostom is probably the ideal person to read on the topic. All right, can I get a caramel chocolate protein latte, please?
Time is just, I could just do this.
What's that?
I was making a joke, just like a single tier.
Oh, yeah, I got you, man.
It's a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know how it is. It freezes on your face, right? Oh, yeah, for real.
I don't know how it is. I'm like the class crowd in this place. I just go.
That's good, man. That's good. I got my donkeys. I got my donkeys. Oh, I got my donkeys. Oh, I got my donkeys. Oh, I got my donkeys. Oh. Food review. Wow. The seed oils really complement the Red 40 and all of the enriched wheat flour and corn. Just really delicious. The glyphosate sprayed sugar is just hitting right now. Just so good. I can feel my breast tissue enlarging. I feel gynecomastia coming on. It's a really enjoyable experience. Maybe I'll be able to lactate into my own coffee. I know I was joking about it a minute ago, but this, yeah, my stomach is starting to feel torn up. I was not expecting that to happen so quick. It's probably been about 15 minutes since I had that donut, and I'm like already feeling it. I got a shit. Horse apples. This is 748. Let's see. Stop number 2, Yoder's Custom Sawing and Lumber Planing and yada yada yada. I love these Amish dudes. Cool vibes. Let's see if anybody's around today. I gotta say, they got a pretty fascinating setup out here. It's reminds me of stuff I've seen in Europe. Just very rustic, you know, totally owning the means of production, man. Yeah, no, I mean they have a cool setup going on here. Oh, losing some traction here. Yeah, it's very interesting dealing with these people. Very unique lifestyle. Very kind people, though. Very nice to deal with. So basically, the way it seems to me is that they are all kind of one unit in this area. The people that I talk to who do construction, who are labeled as separate businesses based on this this random map I saw on Facebook, which happens to be the only resource I can find on Amish business directory around here. Seems like all the carpenters kind of work with the same people. It's all kind of the same crew. So I was kind of anticipating going and bouncing around from place to place to place, talking to people, comparing quotes or whatever. But it sort of just seems like they're all in the same business together. So I'm going to save myself the trouble, and I'm going to head back to the cabin, and I'm going to enjoy a nice fire, or what remains of it, and read a little bit of a book, and then head home. So yeah, back on the road. Yeah, so pretty cool day today. Got to see a little horse and buggy action. Another day in trying to bang on doors and see what's up. Luckily, one of my homies from church from when I first got here, who I actually worked for a brief period as a carpenter, it looks like he's going to be able to do the job for us. What was I going to say? Sometimes my mind goes blank, you know. Sitting by this fire feels really nice right now. In order to live the more free life, we've got to first be more frugal. And that's sort of just, you know, I feel like the best metaphor for it is, you know, in Indiana Jones, when you see, you know, there's always some kind of door that's closing vertically, and Indiana Jones always has to slip underneath the door and grab his hat before it shuts, that kind of deal. You know, right now we're running towards the door. We haven't quite slid underneath yet, but in order to pull that little maneuver off, we've got to sort of tighten our belts and be a little bit frugal and be financially disciplined, right? It leaves us with very little discretionary spending in the meantime. But once we're under the door and the door is shut and we're living here at the cabin full time and we don't have the rent to pay for, we should actually be in a much better position. I think for Gen Z and for Gen Alpha and for, you know, some millennials, I guess it depends on whether you're a younger millennial or an elder millennial. I think that kind of the way to go is to do something similar to what we're doing. I think that the traditional opportunities that the baby boomers had and that a lot of Gen X and elder millennials had to sort of work a normal job and then to like own a home and to kind of have some degree of financial stability guaranteed, even though some people might disagree with that, I think that's kind of gone. And I think that you kind of just have to be like in the battening down of the hatches mode in order to weather the next, you know, 20 or 30 years. A lot of people disagree with me that America is headed into a decline, but I feel very strongly that that's the case. I feel like if you look at the quality of goods and services, if you look at inflation rates, if you look at the cost of housing and, you know, vehicles, and the fact that people are, you know, literally getting loans on clothing and you know, paying interest on groceries and that kind of stuff being normalized and normal, I think that's a really negative sign. I think that's really indicative of, you know, quasi Weimar Republic hyperinflationary situation. And, you know, gold and Bitcoin, I think are really great potential ways to avoid the hyperinflationary problem. But I also think that there's a certain degree of security inherent in being able to grow your own food, being able to really reduce your living costs and the variability of your living costs, right? Because if you are renting, your living costs are not fixed. They're going to continue to go up with inflation. Your grocery costs are going to continue to go up with inflation. And, you know, the last 5 years has kind of taught us that like groceries can 2-3x in a matter of a couple of years, right? Like look at the price of eggs, right? I don't want to see that happen again, but there's no way for me personally to guarantee that's not going to happen again, right? At any point, the Federal Reserve could print trillions of dollars, and then suddenly eggs are $40, $50 a carton, and my income is still going to be the same. If I don't want to be, you know, eating bugs, the solution is that I get chickens and that I learn how to feed them in ways that the feed is not something that is also going to go up in cost, right? If you look at like Billy Bond from Permapastures Farm, like he's always talking about how to feed your animals for free. I think that's the route that people have to be going. You have to have a more austere attitude. If you create a foundation of super secure food and housing situation, I think that whatever money you make beyond that at your job then does become discretionary, right? Once you're in a situation where you're super secure, it frees you up to not have the anxieties of, oh well, I hope I'll be able to pay my rent when it goes up next year. Oh, I hope I'll be able to pay for my groceries when they 3x, 4x in price. You don't have those sort of stresses if you're homesteading and you're producing a lot of your own food. I don't have any illusions about the idea that I'll be able to produce my own food in the first year or something like that. Like I don't think that that's realistic for me. Some people are able to do that. Hey, God bless you. More power to you. But I think it's a goal to work towards. I think you may as well pick the trajectory that is headed in a direction that you want to be, and in a trajectory that gives you guaranteed stability, and more importantly, gives your kids guaranteed stability. The big mistake that all the baby boomers made was to not think about future generations' security. They were very preoccupied with partying, with having a good time, with going on vacations, with going, listening to Jimmy Buffett and going to Margaritaville and all this kind of stuff. Not that I'm saying like they're all evil people or something, but they just didn't have the mindset that there is ever going to be scarcity. Because you can't blame them. Like, they were raised in a post World War II economy where like you literally couldn't fail. The average jackass working at a fast food place could afford to buy a car in cash, could afford to buy a house. That was normal for them. And that's why they look at millennials and Gen Z and say, oh, you guys are entitled. You guys expect everything to be given to you for free. Because we're honestly saying, hey, we don't have the same opportunities, all things being equal, right? Apples to apples comparison, one guy in 1967, great work ethic. One guy, 2026, great work ethic, same age, same qualifications. One guy's going to have a lot easier time financially, a lot easier time in his job field, finding work. College was comparatively less expensive relative to your earnings, so your student loans could be paid off and all this kind of stuff. People need to think about the fact that if things continue at their present rate to go the way they're going, that is going to be a completely untenable situation for, people who are children now. Like my son is 2 years old. When he's my age, I'm 27. When he's 27, if things continue to go at the rate they're going, he is going to have zero opportunities. And I think that's devastating. And I think, I can cry about that. I can write my congressman. I can vote harder. But what is that really going to do compared to if I just sort of set up my own little local environment here so that he has a cushion, he has a safety net, he has a foundation, a launching pad where he doesn't have to worry about where his food's going to come from. He's not going to have to be kicked out at 18 and go pay some ridiculous rental rate or live with a million roommates or something. My son will always have a place here. My kids will always have a place here, whatever kids I have subsequent. If they need a place to live, we'll build a small dwelling for them. And, when my eldest is of age where he has a wife and kids, and I are past that point and it's just the two of us, we'll move into a smaller building, and then we'll give whoever has the biggest family or whoever's in the biggest need the big house, right? All these boomers I see out here, it's like a single man or a single woman, or, best case scenario, it's a couple, and they live in a 2,500 square foot house with like 4 or 5 bedrooms and like no kids, and they don't have guests over. And it's like, why are you sitting on all that property? I want to be very careful here to specifically say that I'm not a communist. I don't think that there should be like forced reappropriation of land or real estate or anything like that. You should have a conscience as someone who is sitting on that kind of real estate and is saying, oh, well, I don't want to move out of here because I like it, or, I'm not going to move out of this house for any less than $1 million. It's like the difference between the Christian ethic when it comes to charity and a communist ethic when it comes to charity is that communism forces the charity. That's not charity at all. That's coercion. That's evil. Christianity is the person who's holding decides from their own heart, from their own loving heart, that I am going to relinquish something of mine to benefit somebody who needs it more. So do I think that they should probably get off the hill? Yeah, I do. Am I going to be someone who advocates for forcing them off that hill? No, I'm not. But if you're a boomer and you're listening to this and you live in a 2,500 square foot home and it's just one person, you should downsize probably. You should think about what your kids are going through. You should think about what your kids' kids are going through. And you should try to help the next generation rather than sabotage, browbeat, and make them feel as if they are less than because they have fewer opportunities, because your generation shipped all the jobs off, shipped all the manufacturing off, and is continually hiring people from outside this country, and is sitting on the house that you bought for $2 and a wet fart for, you want to sell your house for $1 million. I mean, that's just the way I see it. People like to have the right opinion, and in America, people fetishize having the right opinion. The right opinion means nothing unless you act on it, unless you put that opinion and that principle and that philosophy into practice in your life in a way that is obvious and meaningful and substantive. It's nothing to have the right opinion. To scream about something online, to say, oh, you know, I'm so sorry for your generation, or I'm so sorry about the situation, or I hate all this liberalism stuff that's going on. I don't give a shit what your opinion is. I don't care. It means nothing to me. It means nothing to me. Get off your ass and make a difference, because you're not some helpless person. You're not some victim of your circumstance. You need to try to see what you can do through your personal agency to make it happen. If your principles fold under pressure, you never had principles. It's that simple. It's not complicated. Principles are the thing that demonstrates themselves when you're tested. It's that simple. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. Very curious. I'd be interested in an ongoing discussion, especially if someone disagrees. I'd be happy to talk to you if you disagree. But yeah, cool day, cool, enjoyable. Nice to be right by the fire here. I do really want to get this wood stove replaced because it's really inefficient, and I want one with a viewing window so you can see the fire as opposed to it just being this like blank box. But these are old school temp wood stoves. These are they're made in Massachusetts back in the 70s, and you can kind of burn anything in them. There's no catalytic unit or whatever in there, secondary burn or whatever. It's just, it all feeds from the top. All the airflow comes in from the top, and it's a weird design. I don't know if I like it. Some people hate it. It is definitely prone to backdrafting, and I've seen that happen a couple times when I've used it. But yeah, anyway, peace and love, and Christ is King.